Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for a Fool's Gold review covering DC Comics Future State. And in this one we're covering two more comics that are a little bit more expensive this time around, and this time in their currency conversion. As you can see, they're both the same price in US dollars, which makes them $10.75 in Australian. I rate the cover, art and story and how much I think they're worth. So let's get started with the Justice League one. So starting off with the cover, did this cover really work with the story? Not really this time. I didn't feel like it did in any way, shape or form, but it was also nice to sort of see some light put into the subject. To which I gave the cover 4 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth 90 cents. Time to cover some art from the internal story. Alright, this is some art around the beginning of the story. And one good thing I want to point out there is how they actually pointed out one of the locations, which will be addressed later when I review the main part of the story for this first story that's in this. There are 2 stories in this, just to let you know. And I'll now move to some art towards the end of the story. Alright, and this is some of the art at the end of the story. I will give the art this though. It did have some really nice panels and pages, to which I gave the art a 6 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.25. But what about the main story itself? Now with the main story's plot, we of course have, well, the Justice League here, or this future state Justice League, which is made up of John Syndicate Kent, the Far Sector Green Lantern, whoever the fuck she is, don't really know, don't really care. Of course, the Batman, and they also go up against the Hyper Clan. And one thing about this story, it sort of felt a little bit too easy from the workout that that they had been infiltrated. It's something that they could have held off until the end of the story, to which I gave the story rating a 4 out of 10. The main location that we sort of got here was actually just the Hall of Justice. You didn't get to see any of the other places that they had been to, nor were they even pointed out. And that's where it lost points. Joshua Williamson, I thought you were better than this. Just saying. Now to move on to the second story, having to do with Justice League Dark. Now this is some art at the beginning of the story. I will show you some art around the middle of the story. Alright, and this is the art around the middle of the story. For the art, I really enjoyed the art in this, and I don't know what Ram V was actually scripting here, or was giving for the artist in the scripting here, but I really enjoyed what was done here, and it came out really well, to which I gave the art for this story a 7 out of 10, to which I believe the story is worth $1.50. But what about the story itself? Alright, in the story we return to the location of Cardboard Town, and one thing I did sort of notice here was, where was Ragman in this? He was in the last issue. Where is he in this issue? Has something happened to him? Of course, we got Detective Chip, Constantine, Zatanna, Etrigan. I really enjoyed seeing them in this story. and I really liked what was done here. And I want to thank you, Ram V, because this story scored a 6 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.25. Okay, the total for the last story, the Justice League one, was $3.05. But as for this story, this one scored $2.75. The only thing that sort of saves the Justice League one, the first story, is actually the art. I'm just pointing that out. If the art had been less terrible, or even more terrible, it would have been lower in rating. Now it's time to move on to Future State Dark Detective issue 3. Okay, moving straight forward into the cover. Did this cover in any way help or indicate something that actually happened within the story? Surprisingly, it did this time, and I'm really glad that it did. To which I gave the cover rating of 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50. Now let's move into internal art for the first story by Mariko Tamaki. Now this is some art at the beginning of the story. I'll now move to some art towards the mid of the story. This is the area midway, and I really enjoyed what was done here. There must have been some really good scripting here between both artist and writer, as I do like that page on the left hand side. And I'll cover towards the end. And this is the art towards the end on the last page. Now this is where I gave the art 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50. But what about the story? That's one of the important things, isn't it? Now moving into the story, how did Mariko Tamaki go in marking out locations? She marked out none, nor was it shown as to where Bruce Wayne was in particular places of Gotham. It was left to the reader's mind to sort of work it out for themselves. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you're trying to have Batman go to a certain location, it really helps to specify and give a good description as to show to where that character is going. She failed to do that. I might have enjoyed the art in the story. That was fantastic. Nothing wrong with the art. Nothing wrong with the cover. The cast of characters. Another thing that I like to look out for. Are they easy to identify? Well, the only characters I felt like I could identify who they were was, of course, Bruce Wayne Batman and Tim Jason Fox, who should be Iron Knight. You hear that? I'm calling him Iron Knight. Oh, no, I'm not going to call him Batman. I'm going to call him Iron Knight. And that's as much as I felt in regards to this story, to which I gave the story a 3 out of 10, giving it a total of 70 cents as to how much I believe it was worth. Giving it a total of $3.70. Now let's move on to the backup story. Now moving into the backup story, this is sort of like the beginning of the story. And as we can see the art here, I found the art really, really slipped. And I'll show you another area, probably around midway in regards to the story. It was good, but it wasn't consistent. That's the only way I could point it out. And this is why I gave the art 5 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1. But what about the story? Let's move on to the story next. Did we get locations? Yes, apart from us knowing that it's in Gotham, we also got the location of, as you can see there, the Gotham sewers. So it's really nice that the writer brought this in, because it lets me know where the character's going to. But what about the characters? Who appeared in this? And I've got a bit of a gripe, especially towards one character that they tried to bring in, and I'll point it out with the image as well when I get to it. Grifter, we end up meeting in the journey. Apparently we end up meeting Huntress as well, which was really good. In it you get the idea that Grifter is also being hunted, not by Huntress, but of course by this person up here. And it was really nice to see that, because this guy likes to take a lot of risks, and that's what I get from this. But what about the Peacekeepers? Let me show you my problem, and this is why it led to the art rating being a 5 out of 10. As you can see here, this is one of the Peacekeepers. But I got a big problem with this particular picture. Is that meant to be Peacekeeper 8 or Peacekeeper 9? Because I can't work it out. It looks like it's meant to be 08 or 09. It's not very well done. I'd expect better than this, DC. It's nice that you're showing us members connected to the magistrate, but at least if you're going to do it, bring in some more, make these more clearer for the reader to see. And that reader is me and many others who also picked up this comic. And this is why it also affected the story score, to which I gave the story 4 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth 90 cents, giving a total overall for this story of $1.90. Well, until then, please don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any notifications. And remember, let's keep it colourful. If you've now made it to the end of this video, you are awesome. And have an awesome day.